Hey guys, you guys remember this scene, this great scene in the anime? Say goodbye to Exodia. So I thought, because it's 24 hours of Yu-Gi-Oh. Um, but I was thinking, let's change things up a little bit. What if instead of throwing Exodia over the side of the boat, what if it was something even more important, something that would legit change everything for the worst? And so I thought, what would happen if Weevil, for whatever reason, decided to throw the Millennium Puzzle over the side of the boat? You're like, oh, that's pretty clever. How does that change things? Oh, I'm glad you asked. Let's talk about that. So, it's the beginning. Yugi versus Kaiba. He's got his Millennium Puzzle still. He beats Kaiba. Exodia, obliterate! Ah, it's not possible. No one's been able to call him. All that happens. Pegasus hears about it. He sends an invitation to Yugi via the little VHS. He still duels Yugi with the Shadow game. Gramps gets his soul taken. And he's like, "You have to come to Duelist Kingdom, or else say goodbye to your grandpa, Yugi boy." And he's like, "Grandpa, I'll get you back, Grandpa." And then they go onto the boat, and this is where Weevil usually would be like, Exodia, can I see the cards? Oh, look out to say goodbye to Exodia. My cards! And then, Joey jumps into the water and tries to get the cards back. But in here, it's a little different. Because unlike the cards, the Millennium Puzzle isn't made out of cardboard and paper. So that thing sinks real fucking fast. It sinks a lot further than it Joey can get to. So the puzzle is now gone. Because obviously he's not going to jump in right away. They're standing there like idiots processing what just happened. It's like, wait a minute, did he just throw my puzzle into the fucking water? And right there, it's just... And he's like, yeah, don't worry, Yuke, I'll get it back for you. And then he dives in and tries to dive down. He's like, Joey, no! And then Joey comes up, he's like, sorry, Yuke, I couldn't find it. He's like, I don't care! We need to get you up here, Joey! Yeah, and they pull him up, and, obviously he's like, I'm sorry, Yuke, I couldn't get your puzzle back. Now, where does this change the story? Well, it changes it quite a bit. If you remember in the duel with Joey and, mind control Joey, and Yugi, Marek basically said, oh yeah, after you're brought down to the bottom of the ocean, I'll have my rare hunters go down there and get the Millennium Puzzle. Well, word travels fast that Yugi, the boy who beat Koiba, has had his Millennium Puzzle thrown off the boat and is now at the bottom of the ocean between wherever they took off to, Duelist Kingdom. So Marek, able to control people, gets his hands on a yellow submarine, and has his rare hunters looking for it. Top to bottom. I mean, obviously it's at the bottom. And because it's gold, it's probably not being shifted around that much. But he's on track, from wherever they took out the boat, sets off to Duelist Kingdom. So whatever route is, they take that route, and they eventually find the Millennium Puzzle. So Marek is now in possession of the Millennium Puzzle. But that doesn't happen for a while, because obviously news, while it travels fast, doesn't travel fast enough. We still have Duelist Kingdom to get through, which Duelist Kingdom happens a lot differently. If I think the few places where it changes is the fight with Bakura, because if you remember, he takes their souls and puts them into their cards, but then the Pharaoh comes out and he's like, I challenge you to a duel. And if I win, you let my friends go. So assuming uh Bakura doesn't want to play nice, he will just take their souls and put them in the cards. Yugi ends right there. Because no Millennium Puzzle, no Spirit to come out and say, oh, how dare you treat my friend so shamefully. He'll be like, well, that was easier than I thought. Well, I'm good now. But the thing is now, Bakura would have no reason to duel Yugi, because why was he dueling Yugi in the first place? For the Millennium Puzzle. No Millennium Puzzle, Bakura has no reason to go after him. So Yugi's soul is safe. So don't worry, he's safe. Yugi's other duels between Weevil, Mako, even Panic, I think can pretty much go the same way. Maybe some, differentiating kind of routes that he could take with cards, and it may take a little longer, but I see him kind of coming in clutch with those. So it still all happens the same way. The Paradox Brothers, same thing. I think they would still ultimately end up using the Black Skull Dragon and the Dark Magician combo to swap places to where the Black Skull Dragon's there at the end so he can attack Gate Guardian. Gate Guardian would probably be called out a lot sooner, due to less shenanigans on Yugi's part, since he's not nearly as good as the Pharaoh. But I still think it would happen ultimately almost the same way. Just like I said, a few differentiating things. Now the match with Koiba. Honestly, it would go the same way. I think it would, assuming it goes the same way, he would end up ultimately doing the very same thing in the end. Only this time, it's not like Yugi will call the attack to finish off Kaiba. As soon as Kaiba gets up on that ledge, he's like, Yugi, if you attack my monster, I will fucking kill myself. Yugi will be like, oh man, dog. Okay, I'm done then. I give up, you win. Ha 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 ha. Hollow threats always work. So, I mean, he would ultimately lose regardless, but because he still has 5-star chips, it really doesn't matter. Pretty much everything happens the same, apart from the Pegasus fight, which, why did he defeat Pegasus in the first place? 2 reasons. His mind shuffle, and because of the Pharaoh, because once he's playing that, this time he wouldn't even get to the Shadow Realm part of it. This is like the boss fight where you have different phases. This is like the easiest mode, or the hardest mode rather, where there's different phases. But he wouldn't even get to that second phase because Pegasus would beat him in the first. Because he doesn't have anyone to mind shuffle with, Pegasus could just keep reading his mind. Assuming he got Pegasus's health down far enough to start that second phase, there's still nothing he would do. Not only is he susceptible to the mind shuffling thing not being there, and Pegasus reading his mind, but now he also has to use basically willpower to keep these monsters. And every time one is destroyed, a piece of him essentially leaves. So his mind not being strong enough for the Shadow Realm. So Yugi ends right there. But given the fact that he doesn't have his puzzle anymore, which is what Pegasus wanted in the first place, I think Pegasus would just treat this as like a normal duel. So I think the Shadow Realm antics wouldn't really happen. The Shadow game was just kind of to really force things to go in his favor. So Yugi doesn't have his puzzle, which is what Pegasus wanted. So Pegasus is like, okay, well, I'm not really a bad guy here. I just really, really, really want to see my dead wife again. So, uh, but so I think Yugi and Pegasus would actually end up having a normal duel. Um, Now who the winner of that is, depends if Yugi could manage to get out Blackluster Soldier or the Magician of Black Chaos. Because I think really that's honestly the only way that Pegasus would go, you know, go down. So, but that's also going and trusting Pegasus on his word, saying that I was like, oh, I won't bother reading your mind or anything, so we're just gonna have a duel. Um, but if he isn't reading minds, if he can do some kind of the Blackluster ritual, or to get Magician of Black Chaos, or even some kind of wonky Dark Magician stuff, uh, he could pull a win out. But either way, either way, and then here comes the next interesting part: Bakura versus Pegasus. So, in the manga, at least, Pegasus dies after his duel with Yugi. He faces Bakura, and Bakura wins, and he rips out Pegasus's eye, and he kills him. In the anime, he's just like, "Oh, I'm not fabulous anymore." But then it's like, what, could Pegasus actually beat Bakura? While Bakura has lived for centuries and is a collector of souls, Pegasus has also been doing his fair share of collecting souls. And even Bakura states in at least the anime that it makes it easy for him now, because while Bakura is, Pegasus is worn out from his shadow game, he's worn out, his mind is broken and worn out, while Bakura is still, fresh. But it kind of makes me wonder, would Bakura be able to beat Pegasus? Even though Bakura is strong, a fully powered Pegasus, would he have a chance of doing it? Assuming it goes the same way, Bakura wins. Well, now he has two Millennium items. He's got his Millennium necklace and his newly acquired Millennium Eye. In the meantime, I think at this point, Marek should have found the puzzle by now. So now there's one more thing for him to do. Or actually two things. Acquire the other pieces of, the other puzzle pieces, or not the puzzle, but pieces of the puzzle, essentially. Because it's like all one big thing. You need the God cards, you need the Millennium items. So the puzzle, the Millennium items are just one piece of that puzzle, while the God cards, now that he has the Pharaoh, which just having it increases your luck. So he needs the God cards, which he has Ra, he has Slifer. He just needs to find his sister and beat her, because she has Obelisk. And with the power of Slifer and Ra, who is incredibly broken, her Millennium necklace would be his. He easily take that. Of course, Bakura, being the collector of souls and wanting the power of the Pharaoh as well, Marek now has a few Millennium items, which his Millennium necklace would direct him to. But it is sure as hell not possible that Bakura is going to beat Marek in a duel at all. It was him having no warning. You see in his duel with Yugi, he has no idea how the Egyptian god cards work. He has no idea, and he lost against Slifer, but Marek has Slifer and Ra. There's no chance of him winning. No amount of Dark Necrosphere or Dark Sanctuary. Marek will beat his ass in a duel before he even gets that F out. Before you get your first F out, I'm gonna make you get the F out. So now he's beaten Bakura. He now has the Millennium Ring and the Millennium Eye. All that's left is the Millennium Key and the Millennium Scale. So how the fuck does that happen? How does he acquire the Millennium Key and Millennium? I mean, they're being held by a spirit. You know, how does Shoddy end up losing somehow? Well, I just say superiority. You know, he's got Marik's got all three God cards. He's got pretty much all the Millennium items. He could just easily overpower Shoddy by challenging him to like a shadow game, or like what Bakura did with Pegasus, and having more Millennium items. Yeah, I would say, yeah, Shoddy's gonna, he loses. Um, and that's basically what happens. You get the rest of the Millennium items, and like in Harry Potter with the Deathly Hallows, and you become he makes one the Master of Death. Well, Marik gets his wish. He becomes Supreme Pharaoh of the world. Now, what happens when someone like Darts comes in with the Seal of Orichalcos and stuff like that? I don't know. I don't know. Uh, you've got the whole Atlantis thing and Egypt thing going on, colliding, so. But I think it's pretty much stated that anyone who has all the Millennium items and the God cards, they're basically unbeatable. They're invincible. So I don't think Darts could really do anything, because the Millennium Puzzle, just the Millennium Puzzle alone increases your luck, right? But you have the Millennium Puzzle, which increases your luck. You have the Millennium Eye, which you can look into people's minds, read what they're thinking, see their cards in their hands. Incredibly broken. The Millennium Ring, which really doesn't do much. It just points to other Millennium items, but if you have all of them, that makes it pretty worthless. The Millennium Scale, which can tell whether someone's lying or not. The Millennium Key, which is actually pretty dangerous. It lets you go into people's minds and explore like their soul chamber, their mind chambers. But you can actually mess with the stuff in there. You could take memories out, you can put memories in, you could corrupt them essentially from the inside out. You have the Millennium Rod, which allows you to control people. You have the Millennium Necklace, lets you see the past, present, and future. So, I don't think anything Darts has would be good enough to stop Marik. And of course, because Marik has all the Millennium items and the God cards, that whole Zork thing never happens. Doesn't happen. So, you see how one little change makes just a whole difference? And now you see why it was goodbye to Exodia instead of, to the Millennium Puzzle, because throw the Millennium Puzzle away, whole thing changes. The whole thing changes. Again, some of it stays the same, just kind of small alterations. But like the Pegasus fight, again, the whole reason he wanted Yugi in the first place was the Millennium Puzzle. But he's like, well, he doesn't have the Millennium Puzzle anymore, and I'm not even gonna bother challenging this kid to a shadow game, because it's not like he has what I want anymore. So we're just gonna duel. Whether I cheat or not, I don't know. I just know we're just gonna duel. Actually no, I think Yugi could still have a chance, because what the Pharaoh did was, at one point, even after Yugi kind of fainted, his connection with his friends kind of allowed them to kind of permeate in his mind and penetrate that and keep the cards hidden. Even with Yugi out and them not being able to perform the mind shuffle. So even if Pegasus did decide to cheat, Yugi could still utilize that ability of, his friends you know, being in his heart and mind, and them kind of blocking his thoughts and cards from Pegasus's mind probing. So if he was able to utilize that, he could win. Um, either way, it's just a regular duel. No no Shadow Realm or anything like that. I mean, his grandpa's soul's still on the line, and so are Kaiba and Mokuba. But you know, I think Pegasus would be like, you know what? I'm just gonna let them free. You know, me not having the access to the puzzle anymore, this just ruins everything. So I'm just gonna let them go. Because again, people want to say Pegasus is a bad guy. He's not a bad guy. He was just desperate to see his wife again. He did terrible things, yeah, but we've seen that so many times with a good person doing terrible things because of some idea. So he just wanted to see his wife again. He just wanted to see his wife again. But yeah, you take Millennium, the Millennium Puzzle away, and like the whole thing changes, completely changes. Where Marek would essentially become the supreme ruler of the world, because with the Millennium Puzzle and he could easily defeat a Shizu, allowing him the third God card. Again, Marek easily could sweep Bakura, who doesn't even know how to handle it. He couldn't even handle Slifer. There is no way he's going to handle, you know, 2 God cards or 3 God cards. No, it's not going to happen. Which case, Bakura's Millennium items would become Marek's. Again, shoddy. It was like all that's left. And again, if they have some kind of shadow game or you know, whatever, then yeah, shoddy loses easily. You know, because the power of his 2 Millennium items aren't gonna overpower all the items that he already has. Marek already has. So I would like to see an alternate universe where the show takes place, where now they've got to somehow recover the Millennium item, the Millennium Puzzle from Marek, and pretty much save the world from his fucking crazed, tyrannical sort of rule as Pharaoh. Despite the fact that Egypt doesn't even have fucking pharaohs anymore. So I don't know why this dude is wanting to revive something that hasn't been a thing for ages now. I should be Pharaoh. Dude, you live in Egypt, yet you don't know that there's like no pharaohs anymore? Come on, Marek. But yeah, you change one thing, it's just... But I would love to see an alternate universe where he's like, say goodbye to the Millennium Puzzle! Instead of saying say goodbye to Exodia. But let me know what you guys think about that. You know, I'm sure you guys are like, oh, well, you know, I see this happening, or a deviation here, and oh, I don't think he would end up beating this person, or just, you know, let me know. But anyway, that's gonna do it for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.